There are moments in life when a single detail, something as simple as a skirt, decides whether a person radiates elegance or fades into the background. Have you ever noticed how some women can step out in an inexpensive skirt and yet look dignified, refined, almost luminous? On the other hand, others can spend a fortune on luxury clothes and still appear outdated, awkward, even burdened by what they wear. After the age of 60, clothing stops being just fabric and thread. It becomes something much greater, a reflection of one's character, wisdom, and inner composure. Every outfit silently communicates how we see ourselves, and in return, how the world sees us. That is why, when it comes to style, particularly for senior women, choosing the right skirt in summer is more than a matter of fashion, it is a matter of dignity. Summer adds another challenge. The heat demands lightness and breathability, yet at the same time, the garment must flatter and empower. A skirt that fails to balance these demands can make even the most confident woman feel heavy, older, or uncomfortable. It's not just about aesthetics, it's about how an outfit either liberates us or traps us throughout the day. Picture this: a hot July afternoon, the sun pressing down relentlessly. In such a moment, the wrong skirt clings, restricts movement, and magnifies every line of the body we might wish to soften. Instead of walking with ease, one finds herself adjusting the waistband, pulling at the fabric, or dreading the next set of stairs. And yet, the right skirt, chosen with care, can transform that same walk into something entirely different. The fabric sways lightly with each step, air circulates naturally, and what the world sees is a woman poised, graceful, and free from unnecessary effort. That contrast is the essence of today's journey. This is not about vanity. It is about empowerment. A skirt is no longer just a seasonal item in the closet. It is a tool, a quiet but powerful one, that influences how others respond to us, and even more importantly, how we feel about ourselves. The wrong choice ages us. The right choice revives us. In the chapters ahead, we will uncover both the mistakes that make skirts a trap in summer and the timeless designs that elevate a woman's natural presence. This will not be a shallow, do and don't list, but a deeper exploration of why certain cuts, fabrics, and patterns resonate with dignity while others clash with it. Because, as many women discover too late, elegance after 60 is not about following trends. It is about distilling style down to its purest, most essential form. This is where our story begins, not with endless consumer choices or fashion fads, but with a quiet truth. Clothes are not about hiding age. They are about revealing the kind of beauty that age alone can give, the beauty of wisdom, self-respect, and quiet strength. And for senior women in the summer, the skirt is the garment that carries this truth most visibly. Why does fashion after 60 matter so deeply? At first glance, it may seem unnecessary. Some people argue that clothes are just clothes, practical things meant to cover the body. But anyone who has lived long enough knows better. Clothing has always been more than a shield against the weather. It is a language, a silent one, but one that speaks instantly. Before a single word is spoken, your outfit announces you. By the time a woman reaches her 60s, she carries with her decades of experiences, triumphs, hardships, and wisdom. Her life is etched into her expressions, her gestures, her way of being. Clothing becomes an extension of that narrative. A thoughtful choice honors her journey. A careless one diminishes it. What we wear after 60 can either amplify the dignity age naturally brings or undermine it entirely. There is also something liberating about this stage of life. Younger women often dress to impress, to fit in, or to attract. But senior women have already lived through those stages. Past 60, style becomes less about pleasing others and more about expressing oneself with honesty and pride. That is precisely why fashion in later years holds extraordinary power. It is no longer dictated by trends but guided by self-knowledge. And yet, this freedom also comes with responsibility. The line between elegance and awkwardness can be fine. A skirt chosen without thought can highlight insecurities rather than conceal them, creating discomfort both for the wearer and for those watching. On the other hand, a skirt chosen wisely has the opposite effect. It radiates serenity. It shows a woman who knows herself, accepts herself, and walks with the confidence of someone who has nothing left to prove. The cultural weight of this cannot be overlooked. Across societies, elders have traditionally been seen as carriers of wisdom, examples of grace. The way they present themselves visually reinforces this role. In some Asian traditions, dignified dress in old age was considered part of one's duty to the family, symbolizing stability. In Western contexts, senior women who embraced elegance became role models for the generations that followed. Today, the principle remains the same. Your style is not just for you. It sends signals to your children, grandchildren, friends, and even strangers about how you embrace this stage of life. That is why fashion beyond 60 cannot be dismissed as frivolous. It is a daily act of self-respect. A commitment to carrying one's life story with dignity. A refusal to fade into invisibility. Every skirt, every blouse, every pair of shoes becomes a small decision that adds up to a larger statement. I honor the woman I have become. And among all clothing pieces, skirts occupy a particularly symbolic place. They are inherently tied to femininity, tradition, and elegance. Unlike pants, which communicate practicality, or dresses, which sometimes dictate the whole look, skirts are versatile. They can be paired with different tops, shoes, and accessories to create a variety of moods. They allow freedom while still anchoring the outfit. Which is precisely why choosing the wrong skirt can distort the balance, while the right skirt can transform the entire figure. In the sections to come, we will peel away the layers of misconception that often lead women into style traps. More importantly, we will highlight those timeless cuts and fabrics that not only flatter but also remind the world, and the wearer herself, that beauty does not fade with age. It changes form, it deepens, it matures. The role of clothing is to honor that transformation. Summer skirts may look effortless on mannequins in store windows, but in reality, they are one of the most challenging garments for women over 60 to master. Why? Because summer fashion is not just about appearance, it is about survival in heat, comfort in movement, and confidence in social settings. A blouse can be layered with a cardigan, pants can hide more than they reveal, but a skirt stands in the open. It reveals proportion, balance, and posture more directly than almost any other piece of clothing. Think of the demands a summer skirt must meet. It has to be light enough to keep the body cool, yet structured enough not to cling uncomfortably. It must flow with grace when walking, yet sit neatly when a woman takes a chair in a cafe or at a family gathering. It has to flatter a body that has inevitably changed with age, softening curves, shifting weight, or losing firmness in areas that once held themselves differently. The skirt must cover enough to ensure dignity, but not so much that it looks heavy or outdated. It is not a simple equation, it is a balancing act. Many women have experienced this frustration. Buying a skirt that looked promising in the shop mirror, only to return home and discover it does not work in daily life. In the safety of the dressing room, standing still, it seemed fine. But when actually worn, while walking, bending, or sitting, it tells a different story. Suddenly it feels too tight around the waist, or the fabric clings where it shouldn't. Perhaps it wrinkles too quickly, or it feels suffocating under the summer sun. The skirt gets pushed to the back of the closet, forgotten, another wasted purchase. This is why skirt selection in summer is far more difficult than winter clothing. In colder months, heavier fabrics naturally hide imperfections and create structure. But summer strips everything down to the essentials. A wrong choice cannot be disguised under layers. At this stage, experience matters, knowing how fabric behaves in heat, how certain cuts create illusions of height or slimness, how length changes the balance of the silhouette. These details, invisible to the untrained eye, determine whether a skirt gives dignity or discomfort. Fashion history offers a telling perspective. In the 1920s, when women first embraced lighter, shorter skirts for freedom, they did so with boldness and youth. By the 1950s, skirts became structured and modest again, emphasizing elegance. Each era placed its own demands on this garment, but in every case, the skirt carried symbolic weight. It spoke of femininity, identity, and social belonging. For senior women today, the challenge is to adapt this symbol to a stage of life where neither youthful rebellion nor rigid conformity is required. Instead, the goal is effortless grace. That is why this discussion matters. Summer skirts for women beyond 60 are not a matter of following seasonal trends. They are about filtering choices through the lens of practicality, dignity, and beauty that lasts. They remind us that elegance is not an accident, it is the result of careful, thoughtful decisions. With that foundation laid, we now turn to the pitfalls. The skirts that promise much but take away more than they give. These are the designs that every woman past 60 should avoid, not out of arbitrary rules, but because they contradict the very qualities that later life fashion should enhance. Now we arrive at a turning point. Before we celebrate the skirts that flatter and dignify, we must first address the common traps, the summer skirts that promise charm but instead take away comfort, poise, and grace. These are not minor missteps. For women over 60, the wrong skirt can do more than add years to the appearance. It can make simple activities, walking, climbing stairs, even sitting, an ongoing source of irritation. The truth is that many of these designs were never created with mature women in mind. They are silhouettes born from trends catering to youth, or fabrics that look appealing under store lights but wilt under the weight of summer heat. And yet, time and again, women purchase them, convinced that they might finally work. The disappointment is nearly universal. The skirt that seemed chic in theory becomes unwearable in practice. To be clear, this is not about imposing restrictions. A woman at 60 has earned the right to wear whatever she desires. But dignity in fashion comes from harmony, not defiance. It comes from selecting clothing that enhances the person rather than competing with her. That is why understanding what not to wear is as essential as knowing what to embrace. In the sections ahead, we will identify 5 skirts that consistently fail senior women in summer. These are not arbitrary exclusions. Each one carries a specific problem, whether it is highlighting body lines too sharply, creating heaviness in the wrong places, or simply making daily life unnecessarily uncomfortable. To recognize these designs is to free oneself from their trap, opening the closet to choices that allow elegance and ease to flow naturally. Let us begin with the first and perhaps most deceptive of them all, the pencil skirt. The pencil skirt has long been praised as the epitome of sophistication. For decades, it symbolized professional confidence and sleek femininity. But for women over 60, especially in the summer, this silhouette often becomes less of a friend and more of a foe. Imagine stepping out on a sweltering August day with a skirt that clings tightly from waist to knee. Instead of allowing the body to breathe, the fabric traps heat, making every movement sticky and uncomfortable. Sweat clings, the skirt binds, and suddenly elegance is replaced by constant distraction. What looked polished in the mirror at home becomes a burden the moment you sit down or take a flight of stairs. The problem is not only physical comfort. Pencil skirts, by design, reveal the exact contours of the lower body. They emphasize the waist, hips, and thighs with little forgiveness. While this might flatter a younger figure, for older women it often highlights natural changes in the body that come with age, softened abdomens, less firm hips, or a posture that has shifted subtly over time. Instead of projecting confidence, the skirt amplifies insecurities. Practicality is another concern. Every time you sit, the skirt pulls upward. Every step on a staircase requires careful maneuvering. A day that should feel free becomes a series of adjustments, tugging the hem, smoothing the sides, pulling at the waistline. Fashion should never chain you to self-consciousness, but the pencil skirt often does just that. Historically, this skirt carried a certain authority. In the 1950s, Christian Dior popularized the pencil silhouette as part of the new look, offering women a powerful yet feminine style. Secretaries, actresses, and businesswomen alike embraced it. But that was a different time, a different cultural moment. For the modern senior woman, whose priorities are comfort, movement, and dignity, the pencil skirt no longer delivers on its promise. It is not that this design is inherently wrong, it still has its place in certain formal, structured environments. But for the heat of summer and the graceful needs of life past 60, it is a mismatch. It demands rigidity when what is needed is freedom. It magnifies tension when the goal is ease. That is why the pencil skirt stands first on our list of summer skirts to avoid. It is not about rejecting its history or its beauty, but about recognizing that some garments belong to certain seasons of life, and this one has served its time. If the pencil skirt traps you with tightness, the tulle skirt deceives you with charm. Layers of airy fabric, light as feathers, give the impression of playfulness and whimsy. At first glance, it seems like the perfect antidote to summer heat, soft, floating, almost magical. But in reality, the tulle skirt is one of the most impractical choices a woman over 60 can make for daily wear. The problem lies in the very thing that makes it appealing: volume. Tulle skirts are built from layers upon layers of stiff netting. Instead of flowing naturally, they puff outward, creating bulk where none is wanted. For a senior woman seeking lightness, this exaggerated shape does the opposite: it overwhelms the body, exaggerates the hips, and shortens the silhouette. What looks dreamy on a stage or in a photo shoot becomes heavy and awkward in real life. Then comes the issue of heat. Because the fabric layers trap air, circulation suffers. What felt delicate at first quickly becomes stifling in the summer sun. Add humidity, and suddenly the skirt feels less like a garment and more like a cage. To make matters worse, a gust of wind can send the fabric flying upward, leaving its wearer scrambling for modesty in situations that should never demand such stress. There are also social realities to consider. Imagine boarding a crowded bus, sliding into a narrow café chair, or sitting at a family gathering where people are close together. The tulle skirt, with its wide structure, takes up space it cannot afford to. What seemed whimsical becomes inconvenient, even inconsiderate. It demands constant awareness of movement, as though the garment were controlling the woman rather than the other way around. Historically, tulle belonged to moments of spectacle. It was the fabric of ballerinas twirling under stage lights, of brides floating down aisles, of couture gowns designed for admiration rather than comfort. In those contexts, its impracticality was forgiven because it was part of a performance. But for senior women navigating ordinary summer days, life is not a stage play. Comfort, practicality, and quiet elegance take precedence over fantasy. This does not mean tulle has no place at all. A special evening event, a wedding, or a festive celebration may still allow for a modest version of it, toned down, with fewer layers and better tailoring. But as a staple for summer wardrobes, it is a misstep. It brings more complication than confidence, more heat than ease, more spectacle than dignity. For these reasons, the voluminous tulle skirt firmly earns its place on the list of summer skirts to avoid. A garment should move with you, not against you. And at this stage of life, no one should waste time wrestling with fabric that refuses to cooperate. If tulle overwhelms with volume, ruffles overwhelm with noise. The ruffled skirt, adorned with cascading layers of fabric, is often marketed as playful and romantic. At first glance, it seems to promise movement and flair. But for women over 60, especially in summer, excessive ruffles rarely translate into elegance. Instead, they create clutter, both visually and practically. The trouble begins with proportion. Large, flamboyant ruffles add bulk to areas where most women at this stage of life prefer balance and refinement. Instead of smoothing the figure, they exaggerate it. A skirt covered in waves of fabric can make the hips look heavier, the silhouette less streamlined, and the overall appearance busier than intended. Where dignity calls for simplicity, ruffles shout for attention. Then there is the issue of movement. While pleats sway gracefully, ruffles flutter chaotically. Each step makes them bounce and shift unpredictably, often tangling or catching in inconvenient ways. Eating at a restaurant, climbing stairs, or even sitting down can turn into small battles with folds of fabric that seem to have a mind of their own. Far from feeling refined, the wearer is forced into constant adjustments. Maintenance is another hidden enemy. Summer skirts are washed more often, yet ruffles are notoriously difficult to care for. They wrinkle easily, lose their shape in the wash, and often require careful ironing or steaming to look presentable. A skirt that demands that much energy for upkeep quickly becomes impractical, especially when life should be lived with ease, not laundry day frustrations. Fashion history shows that ruffles have always carried symbolism. In the 18th century, they were worn as a sign of luxury, excess, and theatricality. Later, they became associated with youthful romance, seen in dresses meant for young girls or festive occasions. But those associations explain exactly why they feel mismatched for senior women in everyday life. What once symbolized youthful drama now risks appearing forced, even costume-like, when paired with the natural dignity of age. This does not mean that all ruffles must be banished. A small, subtle detail on the hem or a delicate trim can add charm without overwhelming. But once ruffles dominate the entire skirt, the balance is lost. Instead of highlighting the woman, the garment demands to be the center of attention. And clothing, at its best, should never eclipse the person who wears it. For women over 60, fashion should be about refinement, not excess. A skirt should whisper elegance, not shout with unnecessary fabric. This is why the ruffled skirt, with all its complications, earns its place on the list of summer designs to avoid. It is a garment that confuses motion with grace and noise with presence, two things that mature style no longer needs to prove. Few garments carry as much cultural weight as the miniskirt. When it first appeared in the 1960s, it was more than just a fashion statement, it was a revolution. The miniskirt symbolized youth, rebellion, freedom, and the breaking of old social rules. For young women, it was liberating. But for women over 60 today, especially in summer, the miniskirt often tells a different story. The first issue is practicality. A skirt that ends well above the knee leaves the legs fully exposed to the summer sun. For mature skin, which is often more sensitive, this means greater risk of sun damage. Beyond that, natural changes in the body, softened knees, shifting skin texture, or visible veins, become emphasized. Instead of offering confidence, the miniskirt can magnify self-consciousness, drawing attention to areas that many women would prefer to treat with more subtlety. Then comes movement. Sitting down, climbing stairs, or simply walking in the breeze becomes a constant exercise in caution. Every gesture demands attention, pulling the hem downward, adjusting posture, worrying about exposure. Instead of granting freedom, the miniskirt takes it away. A summer afternoon that should be effortless becomes a series of small, exhausting battles with fabric. There is also the matter of dignity. Past 60, clothing is no longer about chasing trends or proving one's youth. It is about expressing grace, strength, and presence. The miniskirt, by its very design, communicates something else: rebellion, flirtation, provocation. While those qualities have their place in earlier decades of life, they often clash with the image of maturity and wisdom that many senior women naturally embody. A garment once seen as daring can, in this stage, appear out of place, more costume than clothing. That said, the spirit behind the miniskirt should not be dismissed. It represented a generation of women refusing to be confined by outdated rules. That same spirit, of self-expression and independence, remains vital after 60. The difference is in how it is expressed. A midi skirt with a subtle slit, for example, can carry that same sense of freedom but with elegance that suits the stage of life. The miniskirt belongs to history, to youth, to certain moments of life. But as an everyday summer choice for women beyond 60, it introduces more problems than pleasures. It shortens not only the fabric but also the sense of grace. And for a woman whose presence is already powerful, there is no need to rely on a garment designed for a different time. If the miniskirt errs on the side of too little fabric, the multicolored patterned skirt errs in the opposite direction: too much visual noise. At first glance, these skirts seem festive, splashes of bright red, yellow, blue, and green swirling together in loud designs. But for women over 60, such choices rarely translate into elegance. Instead, they risk looking chaotic, dated, even overwhelming. The human eye naturally seeks harmony. When a skirt explodes with clashing colors and busy prints, it disrupts that harmony. Rather than enhancing the woman, the garment pulls all attention toward itself, often in ways that feel disorganized. It becomes the loudest voice in the room, drowning out the subtle dignity that senior fashion should highlight. The result? An outfit that looks less refined and more theatrical. The problem is compounded when the fabric is synthetic. Many multicolor skirts are made from polyester blends, which reflect light harshly and trap heat in summer. Combined with bold prints, the effect can look cheap, no matter how much was paid for it. In contrast, natural fibers like cotton, linen, or silk age gracefully and lend quiet sophistication, even in simple solid tones. For senior women, fabric choice is as critical as color, because texture itself communicates quality. Color psychology plays an important role here. Bright, clashing hues create energy, but they can also create tension. At 60 and beyond, style often benefits from colors that project calm strength rather than restless energy. Muted pastels, deep jewel tones, or simple monochrome palettes communicate confidence without trying too hard. They allow the woman herself, not the print, to take center stage. Historically, bold multicolor prints were linked to youth culture and casual wear. Think of psychedelic patterns in the 1970s or neon florals of the 1980s. They were about breaking rules and standing out. But what works for a teenager at a concert seldom translates into dignity at a family dinner or a social gathering. In later life, refinement often comes from subtraction, not addition. This does not mean avoiding all pattern. Subtle prints, a delicate floral, a fine stripe, a soft geometric, can add charm without stealing focus. The key is moderation and balance. A patterned skirt paired with a calm, solid top creates harmony. But when the skirt itself becomes a kaleidoscope, balance is lost. That is why the multicolored patterned skirt rounds out our list of summer skirts to avoid. It is not about rejecting joy or color. Both are essential to life at any age. It is about channeling them wisely, through tones and patterns that complement rather than compete. For women beyond 60, elegance often lies in understatement, and the most powerful statement is made by what is left unsaid. We have faced the traps, peeled away the illusions, and seen how certain skirts, tight, voluminous, chaotic, or too revealing, can betray a woman's dignity in summer. But style is not just about avoidance. True elegance emerges not from fear of mistakes but from knowing where to turn with confidence. And so, having set aside the skirts that weigh us down, we now step into the light, the designs that flatter, empower, and truly belong in a senior woman's summer wardrobe. This is the moment of relief. The fashion landscape is not barren once the wrong choices are removed. In fact, it becomes clearer, simpler, easier. 5 timeless skirt designs remain, each offering comfort, freedom, and refinement. They are not fads. They are not costumes. They are pieces that honor the body as it is today, skimming where needed, flowing where helpful, and carrying with them a quiet sophistication that cannot be faked. Each of these skirts solves the problems that the earlier designs created. Where the pencil skirt constricted, these allow freedom. Where the tulle suffocated, these breathe. Where ruffles cluttered, these simplify. Where the miniskirt revealed too much, these strike the perfect balance. Where chaotic prints distracted, these let the woman shine. And it is not only about fabric and cut. These skirts invite pairing with tops and shoes that enhance rather than fight against the look. They allow versatility, from a morning stroll to an evening gathering, from casual comfort to formal grace. They remind us that style after 60 is not about chasing trends but about distilling the best of them into something timeless. Fashion has always had 2 faces, one of constant change and another of eternal classics. What we are about to explore belongs firmly to the second category. These 5 skirt designs have stood the test of time across generations, countries, and shifting cultural ideals. They whisper elegance instead of shouting for attention, and in summer, they give exactly what is needed: lightness, ease, and dignity. With that, we begin the celebration of the skirts every woman over 60 should embrace, starting with the most classic of them all, the pleated skirt. The pleated skirt is more than a garment, it is a piece of fashion history that has never lost its relevance. For women over 60, especially in summer, it is one of the most reliable allies. The magic of pleats lies in their duality. They are structured yet fluid, modest yet expressive. They create movement without chaos and form without restriction, a perfect balance for a stage of life where grace and practicality must coexist. Picture the effect of pleats in motion. As you walk, the folds open and close like a quiet rhythm, catching the light, swaying with the breeze. Unlike tight skirts that expose or layered skirts that overwhelm, pleats lengthen the figure visually. The vertical lines guide the eye downward, making the wearer appear taller and leaner. It is a subtle optical illusion, yet its power is undeniable. The choice of fabric is critical. A pleated skirt made from chiffon or other lightweight materials becomes a dream in summer. The air moves freely between the folds, cooling the body naturally. At the same time, the fabric does not cling. Instead, it drapes softly, disguising any areas a woman might prefer to soften. A well-placed waistband anchors the skirt without squeezing, giving definition to the waistline while allowing comfort all day. Historically, pleats have carried associations of refinement and discipline. Ancient Greek statues of goddesses were carved with flowing pleated garments to symbolize divinity. In the 20th century, designers like Mariano Fortuny reintroduced pleats as wearable art, celebrating the way fabric could move with the body instead of against it. Today, their symbolism remains intact. They are garments of elegance, dignity, and freedom. Pairing the pleated skirt is refreshingly simple. A light blouse, perhaps in white, beige, or a pastel shade, creates a soft summer palette. A sleeveless chiffon top or a linen button-down tucked neatly at the waist transforms the look from casual to polished. Shoes complete the ensemble. Slingback heels for formality, leather sandals for comfort, or even flats for everyday wear. Accessories need not be elaborate, the pleats themselves do the talking. There is also versatility in color. A neutral-toned pleated skirt, ivory, taupe, navy, becomes a wardrobe cornerstone, ready to pair with almost anything. For those who enjoy a touch of vibrancy, soft pastels or muted jewel tones elevate the mood without overwhelming. Unlike multicolored prints, which shout, a single well-chosen hue whispers with confidence. The beauty of the pleated skirt is that it does not ask the woman to fit into it, it adapts to her. Whether petite or tall, slim or full-figured, the lines of pleats flatter across body types. They give room for movement without excess bulk, offering elegance without effort. In summer, when the goal is both lightness and style, few garments achieve so much with such simplicity. For these reasons, the pleated skirt is not just recommended, it is essential. It is proof that fashion need not be complicated to be effective. With every step, it restores what the pencil skirt takes away: dignity, freedom, and the joy of feeling truly at ease in one's own skin. If the pleated skirt is a hymn to movement, the A-line skirt with pin tucks is a celebration of balance. Among all skirt shapes, the A-line remains one of the most universally flattering, and for women over 60, it is nothing short of transformative. Its secret lies in geometry. Fitted gently at the waist, then widening gradually toward the hem, it creates a silhouette that softens the midsection while elongating the overall figure. For many women, the abdomen becomes a point of frustration as the years pass. No matter how disciplined one's lifestyle, the body changes naturally. The A-line skirt does not fight against this reality, it works with it. The pin tuck details at the waistline provide subtle structure, giving definition without constriction. They create a tailored look that respects comfort, allowing space where it is needed most while still presenting a sharp outline. The beauty of this design is its versatility in fabric. Cotton blends bring crisp freshness, linen offers breathable coolness, and light wool blends carry the skirt into more formal settings. In summer, linen or cotton is the ideal choice. They allow air to circulate while maintaining the skirt's structure. Unlike synthetic fabrics, which cling or wrinkle harshly, natural fibers enhance both comfort and appearance. The A-line skirt's power is also psychological. When a woman slips it on, she often feels instantly composed. The cut recalls the grace of mid-20th century icons. Think Audrey Hepburn's polished ease or Jacqueline Kennedy's poised charm. Yet it does not feel dated. Instead, it feels timeless, as though it belongs as much to today as it did to decades past. Pairing this skirt is almost effortless. For a fresh summer look, a lightweight blouse in soft shades, lavender, mint, sky blue, tucked neatly into the waistband creates harmony. A linen button-up tied at the waist works equally well for casual outings. Shoes should complement the elegance without overpowering it. Flats for daily errands, slingbacks for dinners, or sandals for an afternoon in the sun. Nude tones in footwear are particularly effective here, subtly elongating the legs and enhancing the clean lines of the skirt. There is also a quiet dignity in the way an A-line skirt moves. Unlike the unpredictability of ruffles or the rigidity of pencil skirts, the A-line flares naturally with each step. It creates space without chaos, volume without excess. Walking in it feels neither self-conscious nor restricted, it feels assured. Historically, the A-line has endured precisely because of this universality. When Christian Dior first introduced the silhouette in the 1950s, it was hailed as a revolution against overly constricted forms. The shape liberated women from constant adjustments and reintroduced a sense of comfort to elegance. Today, it continues that legacy, especially for senior women who refuse to sacrifice either beauty or ease. The A-line skirt with pin tucks belongs firmly on the list of summer essentials. It is practical, graceful, and endlessly adaptable. More than that, it gives back something often lost with age, a sense of proportion that feels natural, flattering, and dignified. In it, a woman does not feel disguised, she feels revealed, but in the best possible light. If the A-line skirt is about balance, the midi skirt with a slit is about subtle sophistication. At first mention, the idea of a slit may sound daring, even risky, for women over 60. But when designed thoughtfully, the slit is not about provocation, it is about function and elegance. It transforms the midi skirt from merely practical into quietly alluring, offering both freedom of movement and a refined silhouette. The midi length itself is a triumph of proportion. Falling somewhere between the knee and the ankle, it creates harmony in the figure by covering enough for dignity while leaving just enough leg visible for lightness. Unlike the miniskirt, which often feels too exposed, or the maxi skirt, which can overwhelm with fabric, the midi is the golden middle ground. For senior women, this balance is invaluable. It lengthens the legs visually, yet maintains grace in every situation, whether seated, walking, or climbing stairs. The slit adds the final touch. Placed thoughtfully on the side or the back, it prevents the skirt from feeling restrictive. It allows longer strides without tugging, makes sitting more comfortable, and introduces a sense of flow to the fabric. It is not about drawing attention but about freeing movement. And in summer, when comfort is paramount, this simple feature can transform the wearing experience entirely. When paired with the right fabric, the effect is striking. Linen blends bring breathability, cotton keeps it casual, and lightweight silk or satin offers polish for more formal occasions. In each case, the slit prevents the skirt from appearing heavy, keeping the design fresh and modern. Where other skirts demand constant adjustment, the midi with a slit adapts easily to the rhythms of daily life. Styling this piece requires little effort. A tucked-in blouse in soft tones, white, pale blue, or pastel pink, creates a clean summer look. A sleeveless top or light knit tucked at the waist enhances the elongated line. Shoes complete the transformation. Leather sandals for casual outings, pointed flats for refinement, or low-block heels for evenings out. A silk scarf draped lightly over the shoulders or tied at the neck adds sophistication without weight. The cultural history of the midi skirt gives it even more resonance. Once dismissed as too conservative, in youth-driven fashion, the midi has re-emerged in recent decades as a symbol of timeless femininity. It is embraced by women of all ages precisely because it refuses to bow to fleeting trends. The slit, when introduced, was seen as a compromise between modesty and modernity. Today, it remains a design that speaks to confidence, showing that elegance does not mean erasing vitality, but rather channeling it with poise. For women over 60, the midi skirt with a slit offers exactly what is needed: comfort, proportion, and a quiet nod to allure without overstatement. It reminds the world that maturity does not erase femininity, it refines it. Walking in such a skirt, one does not worry about exposure, wrinkles, or restrictions. Instead, she moves freely, assured, and entirely at ease with herself. If the midi slit skirt speaks of subtle confidence, the simple flare skirt embodies effortless grace. Among all skirt styles, this one may be the most versatile, because it strikes the perfect balance between structure and freedom. For women over 60, it is the ideal answer to the demands of summer: light, flattering, and dignified without ever appearing fussy. The beauty of the flare skirt lies in its silhouette. It hugs the waist gently, then falls outward with a controlled sweep. The flare is not dramatic like tulle, nor heavy like ruffles. It is modest, measured, and endlessly wearable. This means it hides the hips and thighs softly while allowing movement without constraint. Sitting down feels natural, walking feels fluid, and climbing stairs requires no thought at all. Where other skirts demand constant awareness, the flare skirt disappears into comfort. Fabric choice enhances this effect. A cotton rayon blend makes it breathable for hot afternoons, while linen brings crisp coolness. In more formal contexts, a flare skirt in silk or light crepe offers refinement without excess. Unlike rigid fabrics, these materials allow the skirt to move with the body, not against it, creating an impression of quiet elegance. This design's adaptability is another of its gifts. For daytime wear, a flare skirt pairs beautifully with a chiffon blouse in soft pastels, peach, coral, lavender. For evening, a darker tone like navy or deep green with a structured blouse transforms it into a polished statement. Even a simple cardigan draped over the shoulders adds sophistication. Footwear can shift the tone instantly. Flats for comfort, kitten heels for formality, or strappy sandals for summer gatherings. Historically, the flare skirt carries an aura of timeless femininity. It recalls the elegance of mid-century Europe, when women embraced garments that allowed freedom of movement without sacrificing dignity. French women in particular made it a wardrobe staple, wearing it effortlessly from morning markets to evening cafes. Italian icons paired it with fitted tops, proving that simplicity could rival extravagance. That tradition continues today, because the flare skirt never chases trends, it transcends them. Psychologically, the flare skirt has a calming effect. It does not scream for attention, nor does it force the body into unnatural lines. Instead, it frames the figure in a way that feels authentic. For senior women, this is invaluable. It communicates assurance without overstatement, femininity without pretense. It says, "Here is a woman who knows her worth and does not need embellishment to prove it." That is why the simple flare skirt earns its place among the must-have summer pieces. It offers ease where others complicate, poise where others distract. In it, a woman does not feel she is trying to look young, nor does she appear to have surrendered style. She appears simply as she is, graceful, confident, and entirely herself. If the flare skirt represents effortless grace, the satin skirt embodies quiet luxury. Satin, with its subtle sheen and fluid drape, has long been associated with refinement. For women over 60, it offers a rare combination, light enough for summer, yet rich enough to elevate any occasion. It is proof that elegance does not have to be loud, it can whisper through fabric. The satin skirt's greatest strength is texture. Unlike cotton or linen, which absorb light, satin reflects it gently, creating a soft glow as the wearer moves. This luminosity smooths the silhouette, blurring edges and drawing the eye along flowing lines. It makes the body appear elongated without effort, as though light itself were part of the design. For mature women, this effect is transformative. The skirt becomes not only clothing but atmosphere. In summer, satin's natural coolness is a gift. High-quality satin, especially blends designed to mimic silk, regulates temperature by gliding over the skin rather than clinging to it. Unlike synthetic blends that trap heat, it remains breathable and feather-light. The fabric feels indulgent without being impractical, luxury suited to everyday life. The silhouette matters, too. A straight or slightly flared satin skirt falls neatly from the waist, skimming the hips instead of squeezing them. It moves fluidly with each step, never stiff, never chaotic. The simplicity of its cut allows the fabric to take center stage. Here, embellishments are unnecessary, satin is its own decoration. Styling a satin skirt opens endless possibilities. For a polished summer look, pair it with a crisp white blouse or a fitted knit top. A lightweight cardigan tied softly at the waist transforms it for evening. For casual outings, even a simple cotton tee, tucked in, looks elevated against satin's glow. Shoes should stay understated. Leather flats, delicate sandals, or low-block heels complement without competing. Jewelry, too, should remain minimal. Pearls or fine gold echo satin's quiet radiance. Historically, satin carried deep symbolism. In ancient China, silk satin was reserved for nobility, a fabric that communicated status and refinement. In Europe, it became the textile of evening gowns and ceremonial wear, associated with grandeur and occasion. Today, while satin has become more accessible, it has never lost that aura of distinction. For senior women, wearing satin in daily life feels less like following fashion and more like reclaiming timeless luxury. Of course, moderation is key. Bright neon satins risk looking artificial, while stiff satins lose their grace. The ideal lies in soft neutrals, champagne, dove gray, navy, or muted jewel tones like emerald and burgundy. These colors enhance the natural sheen without overwhelming, letting the woman shine rather than the garment. This is why the satin skirt belongs firmly among the must-have summer skirts. It carries with it history, dignity, and comfort all at once. It is a reminder that elegance in later years does not mean settling for less. Instead, it means choosing garments that reflect one's inner richness with quiet, steady brilliance. We have reached the final and perhaps most practical part of this journey, learning how to match the right skirt to the right body type. Because while pleats, A-lines, middies, flares, and satins all hold their place as timeless choices, the secret of true elegance lies in alignment between garment and figure, fabric and personality, body and spirit. For petite women, the goal is to elongate the silhouette. High-waisted skirts in light colors, especially pleated or A-line cuts, create the illusion of longer legs. Fabrics with gentle drape, rather than stiff structure, prevent the frame from being swallowed. Pairing these skirts with shorter tops or a tucked-in blouse sharpens the waistline and gives balance. A nude-toned sandal with a modest heel, no more than 2 inches, completes the illusion of added height. For taller women, the advantage is flexibility. Longer middies or flares carry their height with ease, and they can experiment with subtle patterns like stripes or florals without fear of overwhelming the figure. A wide belt adds definition at the waist, while fuller tops or blouses with gentle volume balance proportions. Their challenge is not elongation but harmony, making sure the frame looks poised rather than severe. For women with straight figures, the goal is to create curves softly. Wrap skirts or A-lines with pin tuck details add gentle volume at the hips, while belts emphasize the waist. Pleats also help here, introducing movement that suggests shape without artificial exaggeration. Accessories, like a scarf tied at the waist or draped across the shoulders, direct the eye to graceful lines. For women with fuller hips and thighs, darker tones on the bottom bring balance, especially when paired with lighter tops that draw the gaze upward. A-line skirts in fabrics with a bit of weight, linen or cotton blends, smooth the silhouette naturally. Subtle slits help with movement without drawing too much attention. The key is not to hide but to refine, redirecting focus toward proportion. For women fuller on top, the reverse applies. Lighter skirts with soft patterns or flare designs draw the eye downward, balancing the frame. Tops should remain simple, clean-necked, and darker in tone to quiet the upper half while the skirt becomes the point of lightness. Here, the skirt is not an accessory, it is the centerpiece of the outfit. And for women with rounder abdomens, the high-waisted A-line skirt remains the champion. Its structure provides room without cling, while its shape defines a waistline that feels natural rather than forced. Keeping skirt and top within a similar color palette creates continuity, making the figure appear longer and slimmer. But beyond these technical guidelines, there is a deeper truth. Elegance after 60 is not about perfection. It is not about disguising age or chasing youth. It is about harmony, between self and style, between comfort and presence. A skirt chosen wisely can soften insecurities, highlight strengths, and restore confidence. It can make a hot summer day feel like a celebration rather than a burden. Fashion, at its best, is not about impressing others. It is about looking in the mirror and seeing someone you respect. Someone who has lived, learned, endured, and still carries herself with pride. That is the true gift of style in later years, not the garment itself, but the confidence it awakens. So, as we close, remember this. Clear your closet of skirts that weigh you down, too tight, too heavy, too loud. Fill it with those that let you move, breathe, and shine. In doing so, you are not just choosing clothing. You are choosing to honor the woman you have become.